I just got done spending an unholy amount of time playing Marvel Rivals New Zombie Survival Mode. Frankly, I'm tired. But I'm gonna talk about one of my favorite builds and tell you how to get through this game a little bit easier so you can start enjoying Nightmare 4 difficulty. I am absolutely in love with this PvE mode, but I know that a good portion of you are probably gonna be a little in over your head because this is very different than what we've experienced in the past. And being that I was like the only person that was covering the Ultron's battle matrix, of which this heavily borrows from, I figured I'd lend a little bit of my experience and wisdom. Hey, listen, I had a 250,000 Destiny channel, right? So I've got experience with the whole PvE thing. If you already understand how to play this game and you're just looking for the build, feel free to skip ahead to this timestamp here. Otherwise, if you want a little bit of advice on how to play this game a little bit better, or if you want a little bit of a course, a crash course on how to make this work, then stick around for a little bit. So, the lower levels are kind of like your story mode. It's meant to be a sort of tutorial on how the game works. You'll get to experience all of the different types of zombies. There's the green poison boys that'll leave a pool on the ground, which suck. There's the orange explodey boys that when they get too close will deal an unholy amount of damage, which suck. There's the crawlers, which will cause a slow if they hit you. They're okay. The basic zombies, they're fine too. And the elites, which, yeah, you're gonna see a lot of them. They deal a lot of damage and they have a lot of health, but they're also bigger to compensate. In the basic tutorial mode, you're just gonna be going through, listening to what the voice of Khonshu has to tell you. There isn't anything really remarkable here. Only piece of advice I'd say is just get practiced using and experimenting with your abilities, because you're loosely going to get to like level 20 if you're going just a straight shot through it. This will allow you to pretty much get all of your abilities, like kits for them, as well as start to build something out. So, you know, experiment with it. Have a little bit of fun. Get a feel for it. Pop your ults frequently. You'll get a feel for it. Yeah, you'll understand. There's two bosses. There's Namor, and then there's Wanda. Namor has two modes. He has two phases. His opening phase, he's invincible, and the only way that you can damage him is by shooting his squids. Those squids, once enough of them are gone, will remove his invincibility and allow you to open fire. It's worth noting that the squids do have a critical hit point in this, so if you have a build that focuses on a critical hit point, such as the build we're going to work on here today, just shoot them right in the center of their mouth hole part. That makes them uncomfortable. Wanda, on the other hand, has three phases. She has her walk around dealing damage phase, and then she has her bubble phase. In the bubble phase, she's going to pulse out a portion of damage that's kind of large, especially as you get later into the fights, and she'll try to cause that stun effect that she has for one of her abilities all around the battlefield, mostly trying to focus it on you. This mode is detrimental to melee-based heroes because those stuns can stack, and yeah, you might get to a position where you aren't moving at all because all of the stuns are stacked on top of you, and it is absolutely devastating. So that's where Punisher comes into play. Well, we'll get there. So I'm getting ahead of myself. Wanda also has a mode where she'll go into sort of a final stand, and she'll try to do a reality eraser. It's worth noting that this reality eraser cannot be blocked, it cannot be avoided, it cannot be taken cover from. It will kill you no matter what. The only way forward is through her face. Open fire and shoot the crystals that spawn as well. Those will delay her ult time, basically. You'll see a yellow bar underneath her health bar that will go up every time you shoot one of those crystals and will slowly tick down otherwise. So generally, deal damage, you'll be fine. Let's talk about perks. There's two types of perks. There's the in-game perks that you get with moon points, and there's the out-of-game perks that you get with levels. Levels are shared between characters, and you get levels just by simply playing the game. You don't need to worry about difficulties or anything like that. It's generally more efficient to go to the higher levels, but, you know, do whatever makes you comfortable. The in-game perks are done or given to you by just sort of an allotment. You'll get a set amount every single time you get to the end of a round, whatever that may be, whether the lower levels, every single mission, or the higher levels, actually a wave-based round. Spend those points, but more importantly, understand what those points do. Regardless of if you're playing Punisher, like we're going to talk about here, or if you're playing any other character, you need to understand what those points do. Every single 20, 60, and 120 mark, a new sort of perk is added to something. So for the Punisher, for example, at the 20 mark, his Adjudicator, his assault rifle, starts firing a spray of bullets, and this dramatically increases your DPS. So it's good to try to focus down and get those perks as early as you possibly can. and completely avoid the other tree. One of those trees is going to be better, and even if you consider them equal, it's more valuable to you to focus on one because you'll get so much of a bigger return. For the Punisher, we're going to be focusing on his red tree, like I said, with his assault rifle, because that's where I found the most value from. Whatever you end up deciding for yours, just make sure you stick with it. Your out-of-game perks, the ones that you spend with levels, those are going to be decided and cannot be switched in-game. You're going to have 2 trees, both mimicking your red and your blue, and you're going to have 2 options for 2 of your abilities. All characters have either a green or an orange. For me, as the Punisher, the best choice is exclusively green on all fronts. You're going to want a green turret, which allows the Punisher to place his turret down, sort of like Rocket's amplifier, and it'll fire on its own like a turret, like you'd kind of expect. This doesn't do anything to its damage or survivability, and it's rather squishy in the higher levels, but it's a decent distraction in the lower levels. It's nice to have something else supplying DPS while you focus on other things. For the green grapple ability, this will cause the zombies to be attracted to the grapple, basically forcing them to target it like Monkey Bomb from the Black Ops games or the Call of Duty Zombies games. It's a very similar idea. This is great for a little bit of forced crowd control, something that you will absolutely need in the higher levels. I have experimented with both, and the orange tree is awful on both the turret and on the grapple. And in fact, you'll actually see me experimenting really hard to try to make work in this footage. It just doesn't work. It just doesn't good. Now, an important thing to note here, specifically with the Punisher, is that you likely will never pop his ult in higher levels. As soon as you reach Nightmare difficulty, outside of maybe the first few rounds, your primary weapon's just gonna be better. Objectively speaking, you'll be dealing more damage, and you'll still have the same amount of uptime, splash damage, and everything. It's really bad. It's really bad. The only thing that's nice about it is that you get just guaranteed health and healing. So if you are taking a bit of damage, this can be a way for you to get it back up, but you won't use this for damage unless you're at those lower levels where your primary really hasn't caught up yet. You'll see me do this in some of these lower levels. I'm still popping my ult. The higher levels, no, don't even touch it. Don't pop it, not even once. At Nightmare 4, I don't think I popped it a single time, not even once. It's just not worth it. Okay, for all characters, there's the purple tree. This is just generic buffs. Damage increases, health increases, armor, and as well as a couple of unique perks. Those unique perks and the damage increases are primarily what we're focusing on here today. But I want to make sure you're aware, avoid the health increases, generally speaking. Those health increases are, of course, nice, but you're going to be so far in the back that you're likely not going to be taking a whole lot of damage anyway. And even if you do heavily focus on keeping your health up, you're sacrificing so much of your damage on the Punisher that's really not worth it. It's good to be able to survive, let's say, Wanda's bubble mode, but that's kind of it. The only other thing we're grabbing for survivability here is the lifesteal. Other than that, grab the bonus healths every now and then, but they really should not be a focus. So long as you're surviving a bubble blast, you're fine. The 2 things that you will be grabbing, however, are the ice shots and the lightning shots. The ice shots have a 3% chance of freezing an opponent, and once they're frozen, they explode, dealing some damage. That's really good for the Punisher because unlike a lot of the other characters in the game, the Punisher is almost exclusively reliant on his primary fire. And his turret also seems to share this ability too. I'm not sure if I'm just imagining that or if my damage is just spreading out to all these targets, but it is nice. It does make the turret a little bit more redeemed, if that makes sense. The lightning shots is just some AoE. It's great. It's fine, I guess. You know what? No, I'm going to knock it down and say it's okay. Good to pick up, but not crazy. Lifesteal is a lot more important. Damage is a lot more important. Damage reduction is also very important. For the Punisher specifically, you're going to be focusing on that red tree. You're obviously looking for anything that increases your damage, but you're mostly avoiding magazine increasers. Lower levels, trying to get to 20, 60, or maybe eventually 120, sure. But as soon as you get to 120, I actively encourage you to stop picking up magazine increasers. They're kind of a waste, primarily because of 2 things. One, there's a perk that gives you a nigh instant reload speed. At that point, what do you even care about a magazine if you're reloading instantly anyway? And also, more importantly, there's a perk that allows you to have a chance of getting bullets back for every shot that you take. being that you're firing 5 shots, this is really easy to go infinite. You can pretty much exclusively use this as if you are in a permanent ult, because that refund, especially once you stack it, is pretty much guaranteed. And at this point, likely you've already picked up some magazine increasers, so the likelihood of you hitting 0 is small. And then again, even if you do, you still have the reload thing. You get the picture. The only other things that you're looking for here are kind of 2 perks. Number 1, you're looking for a perk that increases your fire rate the longer you hold the trigger. This does have a cap, but it's good to pick this up early because it's just free damage. And the other ones you're looking for, a really good one to potentially shop for, especially if you're in the higher tiers and the higher levels, the waves of those tiers, and you still haven't gotten it, is the smart locking. This allows your Punisher's automatic primary fire to focus all of its shots, I believe it's 5 beams, all focused down to a single point, and that point being the enemy's head. A lot of those shots that you're spraying out are hitting random targets, sure, but also a good portion of them are being fired into the stone behind them. Having all of these shots automatically lock onto the nearest enemy that you're pointing at is a strict increase in your damage. The more you stack them, the longer this buff lasts, and up to a certain point, it will pretty much always be active unless for some reason you stop shooting. Maybe you've gotten stunned or something of the sort. I've tried investigating the blue path for his shotgun, and it's fine. It's good for crowd control, but that's not the Punisher's strengths. The Punisher's strength is in his ability to cause distractions and do a lot of damage from a distance. Once you're able to get to a point where you're firing with all of these perks active at once, you will rival and frankly outdo even the highest tiered character in this game, which is Blade. Blade struggles against Wanda because he has to get close for his best tree and even his ult, something that the Punisher can fairly effectively ignore. Not saying that you're going to be invincible, but you have a lot more versatility than a lot of these other kits will open up to you, just because you have so much range, mobility, and some distractions to keep them off of you, because you're going to be a little bit squishy. The smoke grenade is also very, very important. If you've played Punisher in a more earnest environment, a more competitive environment, you know how good this is as a movement tool, and that's just as true here. Punisher's smoke grenade is great for getting him out of a pinch and can help you reposition aggressively if a grapple takes you into an awkward position. But Misum, what about the funny random button? I wanna press it. And I'm telling you, my friend, don't. If you're already feeling comfortable, maybe you're playing at a lower level with a friend who's just trying to climb through, sure. But I have very rarely come away from pressing the funny random button and having it work out. 9 times out of 10, it was 15 wasted points, not even remotely the value that I put in. For our strategy for Nightmare level 4, ironically, one of the most necessary parts is Thor, who I think the community generally regards as one of the weakest characters of the kit, weakest characters of the cast. All of the characters are very good. Thor's probably the weakest, specifically because of his ability to cause stuns with his ultimate. When he pops his ultimate, all enemies, all zombies that are on the field except for elites will be launched into the air, even if they're not near the Thor. And what that allows you to do is brief seconds of breathing, which is so necessary and makes Thor a wonderful pick. Also, because his ult takes him so high into the air, it allows him to sort of keep the team alive as the respawns continue to come in. Thor's great. Blade is broken. I'll probably end up making a Blade video later and talking more about some really fun builds. So of course, subscribe for all that stuff. But for you are focused on single target damage, and you are the damn best at it. Focus your damage on the bosses and watch yourself catch up dramatically once those DPS phases go. Focus on the green tree and the red tree. Avoid the blue tree unless you want to have some fun. I hope you guys enjoyed. Subscribe for more content like this. We'll definitely be doing more of this in the future. My build crafting brain is going crazy. Bless your faces. Deuces.